we all have an obligation. When I read the statistics on unemployment, I want my people to stay employed. I want to be able to offer them a good livelihood, and that's going to happen if we're busy. So we're determined to be compliant and encourage everybody else to go on that journey, because Sydney needs to come to life again. But we just need to be cautious.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Some establishments have become real destination dining experiences. The sort of places that speak of a city, of a place, of a moment in your life. When you go to Sydney, you have to visit Café Sydney. It's a sentence that many people have shared over the years because it epitomises dining in the harbour city. Jan McKenzie is the Director of Operations of Café Sydney, a restaurant that has been the beating heart of the city for decades. Jan, what's it been like running one of the city's most iconic venues for so long?
A multitude of emotions, actually. It's been challenging. It's been enormous fun. It's from the get-go, it was destined to be a challenge, but we're fortunate. We've got a fantastic team of people here and great determination, and we actually have a very clear vision and a very clear set of values that we instigated from the very beginning about what we want it to be. And I mean, obviously, like any business, we review those often, but we pretty much stay with the values that we've set.
Can you paint a picture of the venue, the size? How many people do you get through there, and what's the scale in regards to staff?
Look, generally we have about 140 staff.
Wow.
And at this moment we have 100, I think we're 131. And so we're, that's been a very challenging process for us because, when it first happened, we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And then JobKeeper has been amazing. There's no two ways about it. It's been incredible. But we, like everybody else, we have our section of people. We have our skilled sponsored team of people, and we also have a quite a significant group of temporary visa people. So that's been challenging for them. We've been lucky with that group because the temporary visa people have actually been incredibly nimble, and they're a very agile group of people, and many of them have gone off and got other jobs. Some of those jobs have come through James or through coming through Café Sydney, but there's been a whole team of them have gone off and got other work. The skilled sponsored people, they're the tricky people because they only can work with who they're sponsored for, and so that's been difficult. So it's been emotional for a lot of people, but we've just, our whole thing was just to keep everybody connected and to keep talking to everybody and to be ready to financially dig deep if necessary to fund those people, because you can't just put them out on a limb. And also to be able to, for everyone to be able to, take whatever leave they wanted, buy it out and get money and just keep it all going for people. But they're all back now.
When a pandemic first impacted the restaurant and what you do, what were your thoughts at that time moving forward with a restaurant that's, in the centre of the city that was sort of emptied out of people and, no tourists coming in as well?
Well, our clientele it's very much corporate, and so we instantly felt it. And it was interesting in the last sort of couple of weeks where the social distancing happened and we started to instigate all the necessary requirements. What we found ourselves with was we've actually found ourselves with a lot of families and groups of friends, and it took on a new life of its own, because a restaurant feels quite different when you've got your corporate clientele, and then when you end up with a lot of families who felt quite comfortable being with each other, it was a very different vibe, and it was lovely actually. It had a very nurturing and very warm finale.
What's this period been like for you as a restaurateur? You've been doing it for a little while now, with a wealth of experience. What's your sense in regards to the restaurant and the landscape that we're currently in?
Look, I think it's there's no amount of restaurant experience that can prepare you for moving through this. I guess, having had a lot of experience and, I've worked in very challenging environments in the history of my working life in hospitality, but nothing really prepared me for this. I was quite shocked in the beginning. I just thought this is not going to happen, and then it was like, okay, it's happening, and we bunkered down really quickly. We knew that there was nothing that we could offer. We don't have a community surrounding us. We're a CBD restaurant, and fortunately, we actually don't rely on the tourists. The tourist market is a very small percentage of our business, but our corporate clientele, we value them enormously. And so we realised that there was nothing we couldn't do takeout. We were in Customs House has been closed. They closed a few days after. Once we were leaving, they decided they were going to close, which I thought was a good thing. And so there was no way that we could, cook anything or have people coming into Customs House. And so that wasn't a notion. So we really mothballed. We totally shut this business down. And everybody has been in stand down. There's been 4 people that have worked through the period.
How have you felt personally through this period?
I've felt a mixture of things actually. I've been quite emotional, I must say, but I am that woman, an emotional woman, and I felt I am, but I've also felt in many ways I've reconnected with many aspects of the business. So I immediately diverted several emails to me. I had reservations, I had marketing, and I had functions and events coming to me, as well as my sort of email thing, and then just trying to get that whole JobKeeper, getting that off the ground was, that was a little bit tricky to understand in the beginning, but we mastered that. And then I had everybody calling me, and then ironically, I've had a number of brides wanting to get married here next year, and I've had all sorts of conversations with people. I've had great conversations with people. So it's been quite grassroots, and I've actually just come off the functions email and functions phone today, doing that, and that is really gaining momentum, which is exciting. And so I feel like I'm more across. We've done lots of Zoom meetings, and we've had lots of brainstorming and lots of dividing up into groups of who's going to take care of those people, and putting ourselves really into silos with groups of teams of staff, so that everyone was just a fingertip away from us at all times.
Can you tell us about those early days with Café Sydney, and do you have any interesting stories that are really integral moments of the restaurant since you've had it?
Oh, look, I think Café Sydney, I don't know, it's one of those big beast restaurants where it's got so much going for it. And when I first arrived here, I was talking to a food journalist, and there'd been a lot of criticism of Café Sydney when it first opened, of the food style and this and that. And in that time there was only a handful of big restaurants, so people were, guests were used to the real fine touch of that person who is looking after you. They're going to look after you through the whole experience. And in a big restaurant, that doesn't happen. And you work really hard in a big restaurant so that, that the waiter who's looking after the table is connected to the table, and then all the auxiliary staff sort of come and go. But so that was a really big thing, changing how people viewed a big restaurant. And I guess I realised when I got here that, I was coming to Sydney. I'd never lived in Sydney. And, I'm Australian, but I'd been living overseas, and I was pretty excited to be coming back to Sydney. And I'm fortunate. I can look out right now and look out at the harbour. But this city just captured me right from the get-go. It just, it's such a wow city. And I saw it, I saw it in a totally different light, and I wanted to be a part of it. So they were really defining things for how we wanted to position Café Sydney, because we wanted it to be a restaurant that everybody could come to, that it wasn't going to be, too fancy pants, that it was essentially, it's a brasserie. And we wanted it to be priced in an offer that everyone could come. And on any given day, you could be here and look around and think, wow, what a mix, what a mix of people. And, we have regulars that have been coming on a certain date for 20 years. And we consider them regulars. We might only see them once a year, but we see them every year, once a year, because this is the place they want to be for, their birthday or whatever celebration it is. So, you build it very slowly. It was a slow build up of this business, but it's evolved into being an incredibly strong. It's a really strong business, and we've got a great clientele. We couldn't ask for a better clientele, because when you capture the corporate clientele, over time they do so many different things with you. They do the lunch for 2 and the lunch for 4 and the dinner for 10, and then you start to see them with their family, and you see their families grow up, and then you still see them in their corporate role, and you see them change companies, etc., etc. So it is interesting.
Has food changed a lot in that corporate market in your time at Café Sydney? You've got a pretty handy chef in the kitchen at the moment with James Kidman, who's a wonderful man and a beautiful cook, doing some amazing things there. But has it changed a lot over the years, the expectation?
No, look, I don't think the expectation from the guest has changed a lot, but I think our expectation of ourselves has evolved enormously. We always as a management team, we always sit down and go, okay, what are we aspiring for this year? And we feel quite dedicated to be better at it each year, to really finesse what we're doing, because it's important that we back up this gorgeous location with everything behind it, that it equals it or surpasses it. So, everyone in hospitality wants to exceed guest expectation. We all do. We all want our guests to have the greatest experience. And when you've got this harbour in front of you, you really do have to have a commitment to back it up. So, yes, the food's great. James runs a very, very slick kitchen. It's tight. He also has a great rapport with all of our suppliers. He's adored by them. And that helps, because they come to him and, they want to talk about product, and they want him to try things, and they want to introduce things. And, if you are a sheep farmer down south and you get into this business, then we're pretty much going to take all your sheep. So people, it's a fantastic thing, the volume that we've been able to achieve year on year, because it really supports a whole range of producers. So he garners those relationships.
A little earlier you said that it's important for you to back up the location with an offering that matches it or exceeds it. How does that translate on the plate in the circumstances that you're in? What's the process been of what the food is going to be like moving out of a pandemic for Café Sydney?
Well, we've had there's been many conversations about what that's going to look like. And one of the things that we decided was that, we had several conversations, but there wasn't, we're opening with a new menu. But that's very seasonal driven because, what was on the menu in March is not around now. But, we need to do a menu that's going to translate for the type of volume that we do, and that the integrity of the dish doesn't lose because of the volume. So a lot of our food is very preparation intensive. So the technical part of the food prep sort of speaks for itself, and the actual execution of getting it out is very considered so that we can expedite in a really slick fashion, because no one wants to wait. A corporate lunch does not want to wait. So there's a lot of consideration in the menu planning of how it's all going to do the sort of volume that we're going to do. And, right now we will open, and, for this period, for this first week, we will be able to do, 50 people indoors and 50 people on the terrace, and the weather's going to be perfect, I hope. So, and we'll be able to roll, and we'll be able to get reasonable volume, and then when we hit the 1st of July, we can up it again. I mean, we're very blessed. We have such space here, and so we can still comply to the 1-to-4 ratio and the 1.5 social distancing. And I mean, the only thing that will affect us is that we can't, people can't have arrival drinks and canopies standing, and there's all those things. But people so far have been very understanding for that.
Has the operational aspect of the restaurant altered because of this, and are you using the space differently?
Yes, we're using the space differently. We're moving furniture around like there's no tomorrow, and so the terrace is socially distanced, and so is the indoor dining area. We're going to start off being quite cautious. We've got many spaces here, so we are fortunate in that, but we're going to be very considered about how we deal with the lounge, and we'll probably not have, in this first week, we're not going to have people just coming in for drinks. We're feeling we want to just master this next 4 days because it is busy, and also we've got a team of people that haven't worked for 3 months, and we want what we're going to do over the next 4 days to be really fantastic. So we're just trying to be quite considered about it. But the space will evolve. It certainly will evolve once we get to the 1st of July. And, we've a lot of people are interested in the private dining room, which we refurbished late last year, and which is gorgeous. So there's a lot of people wanting to be in the private dining room, and I understand that. And then we've got our lounge area, and as we evolve over the next week, we will use that more, but we will just be having seated. We're not permitted to do any stand-up drinks or anything like that. And then we've got the bar area, which is another sort of seated area. So we can really spread out. We can spread out, and we can have quite a lot of people in here. We just need to manage the coming and going and how people arrive. And we're actually going to do all our tracking and tracing on the ground floor, and we decided we'd do that on the ground floor, so we'll have someone positioned down there. We're using that app, which has been fantastic. We're using that app for every single person that steps on our premise, whether it's the delivery driver or the carpenter or the whatever. Everyone has been using that, and we just thought we'd do it on the ground floor so that people will arrive and it will be like a normal arrival and a normal experience for them. So, yeah, I'm excited, actually. I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. And certainly people are aching to get out, like people are really wanting to get the trainers off and get the outfit on and go out and have a good experience.
Well, you are opening this week, and as you said a bit earlier, during the shutdown, you've sort of taken on all the roles, or many of the roles that you normally leave in the hands of other people, but you've relinquished those this week, and you have the majority of your staff back. What's it been like this week, and what have been the challenges in getting the restaurant revved up again?
Well, it's been physically challenging in many respects because a big restaurant closed for 3 months it was filthy, actually. So we've had just people here cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. We've had some of our team back in cleaning. There's been a lot of cleaning going on, and then that started last week. And then this week, I've watched the kitchen sort of get going and the deliveries coming in and so forth. But, we had everything switched off. So that all happened last week, where refrigeration came back on and air conditioning came back on and all of it. So, but, down here in CBD land, there's building sites around us, so it's dusty anyway. And having not cleaned for 3 months, we needed to get that. But we're looking good now. We've done a little bit of, the terrace has been resurfaced and the dining room floors and everything, all upholstery's been deep cleaned and the French polish has been here. So yes, we're looking good. Yeah. So it's, the team is thrilled. Trying to keep them social distanced is, I feel like I said today, can I get a really smart stick? Just to keep everyone back from each other. Don't touch each other. Look, we want to be, and we all need to be compliant because, it's quite that's the overwhelming bit is, for many of us, we've been able to travel the world and how fortunate we've been. And so I look around me surrounded by all these fabulous young people, all wanting to take the world on, and the world has shifted. And so we all have an obligation to make sure that they have safe passage in the next chapter. We certainly don't want, when I read the statistics on unemployment, I want my people to stay employed. I want to be able to offer them a good livelihood, and that's going to happen if we're busy. So we're determined to be compliant and encourage everybody else to go on that journey, because Sydney needs to come to life again, and you can feel it coming to life, but we just need to be cautious.
Just on those sort of young workers that may be disillusioned about the future of their careers due to these circumstances, what sort of conversations did you have with your staff to give them morale and provide to make sure that they know that there's a clear career path for them moving forward?
There has been endless conversations, and I've tried to. I've been writing a lot, actually. To the whole, I've got them all on a group email, so I've been writing a lot, and I feel an enormous responsibility for them to feel supported. And look, most of them are quite independent, but they honestly know that they can come for anything, and whatever we can do to make this process easier for them, we will. But it is challenging for them. It's challenging. We've got, we're a mixed bag too, Culturally, we're a mixed bag, which is fantastic. And then we've got our students, and that's a whole new world for them because, they're all online learning now. And it's challenging, and also the whole prospect of them perhaps, wearing this enormous debt of what the country's gone through. That's challenging. So we need for them to, they're hungry to learn. We need to just give them everything we can give them, and we need to make them feel as secure as we can. They, for us, they are at the coalface of our business. They represent us, and we're just trying to lead them and inspire them, and to be really clear about what we stand for and what our values as a business are, and that we want them to come on this journey. But we also, I mean, one of our words we've been using is like we just all need to be incredibly agile and organic, because this is just going to keep changing. And so we all need to just keep rolling with it and supporting each other and being united. I mean, the way we're looking now, we will get everybody up above their, up above their JobKeeper money very quickly, which is what we want. We need for them to be back earning, and we need for, we're hoping our clientele will, of course, reward them accordingly with gratuity. We need for people to be thinking about gratuity.
Those two words that you've been using with your staff, which is to be agile and organic, that really sums up, what's been happening across the industry in response to this. What has impressed you about how the hospitality industry as a whole has reacted to the crisis?
I think it's been totally inspiring to watch how people have been able to, I'm not going to use the word, but evolve into new things and find adjunct businesses within their business to do. There was a moment where we all went, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We need to do something. And it just really wasn't possible. I have the most enormous respect watching what Neil's done. I just, feel overwhelmed with respect for, the role that he's played has been incredible. Really commend it. I think a lot of people are just trying to keep focused on how they're going to reopen. And, the reality is that some people are not going to reopen. And I think that's tough. That's really, really tough for people. You know what hospitality's like. The margin is low. The work can be thankless. The camaraderie is immense. And, what hospitality people do for the community is so, so significant. It's significant. I don't think people quite, or maybe they are now, maybe they're starting to realise the role that, that hospitality, from like across the whole sort of spectrum of hospitality, what it does for the community. Whether it's just going to your local hole in the wall where you get a coffee, or, through all the things, all the different bits of it, it's immense and it impacts people. I mean, I've been, we have a number of cultural partnerships, and one of them is with Sydney Film Festival. I mean, look at how they've turned themselves around. What a hard task for so many of them, and our friends down the road at the Opera House, like, how is that going to pan out? When are we all going to be sitting listening to live music? All of these things. So the starting point for people reconnecting is certainly within restaurants, around the dining room table, is where people are going to really come back to life, I think.
Well, as you just sort of mentioned, restaurants are so important to our community and the way that we socially interact. What did you miss about restaurants during the time that yours was closed down?
Oh, look, I don't know. I missed everything. I missed the whole sense of, from the moment you decide you're going to go somewhere to eat, that whole process of all of it. Even the process of leaving it and coming home and talking about it the next day and dissecting what you've eaten and talking about the conversation and all of those things. I mean, we all fundamentally just miss it, but we live it. And the powerful role that restaurants play in making people's lives quite different. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to having a room full of people excited, and I think people genuinely are excited to be going out again, and I think that part of getting a community of people together and reinvigorating them and feeding them great food and pouring great wine, which Simon Kirkovic has tweaked our wine list over this period. People love to be in that environment, a restaurant environment.
So in, the rebirth of the restaurant and reinvigorating guests as they come into the Café Sydney experience, what does the future for the Café Sydney look like?
Well, Café Sydney, I think we will just keep rolling. We're committed here for at least another 10 years. And we always laugh about this, but we've never wanted to be in vogue. We've never aspired to be that restaurant. There's many things we want to be, but we don't want to be in vogue. And I think that we will just continue and keep fine-tuning and keep evolving and being, we're not ever going to really reinvent ourselves, but we're going to stay consistent and, not stray from those values. We want to be authentic for what we do. We want to give people great experiences. So, I don't think there's going to be any, there's no massive big shake-up happening. There's just continue on and, do what we do well.
Well, you're literally moments away, really, from opening the doors again and getting ready for that. How's it going to feel when the guests walk through the door for the first time?
Well, we're fighting about who's going to be down the bottom. Who's going to do the tracking and tracing? I want to, because that's the first port of call. And I guess that I don't know. We're all very excited. We're all very excited. So yep, you can feel the energy brewing, and I think we'll definitely be having a big team briefing again. We've done loads of briefing this week, which is exciting because you don't often actually get time to do what we're doing. Is getting everybody together and, everyone together involved in training and involved in tasting. And so they are all across everything that's happening. And when everybody gets in uniform tomorrow, and I think I might have to wear a heel, it's going to be momentous, actually. It's going to be momentous. You never think you're going to have to reopen a restaurant again like this, but it's going to be very exciting.
Well, the restaurant's in many ways been the heartbeat of the city, and to hear that it's opening its doors again is pretty exciting for the industry as a whole. Thanks for joining us today, and please keep in touch. We'll no doubt catch up with you down the line and see how the restaurant's tracking. But lovely to chat today, and thanks for being on.
Thank you, Anthony. I think it's fantastic that you've done this podcast, and I've listened to many of them, and they have been truly inspiring, because just to hear how everybody's feeling, and it's been a great, honest outpouring from the hospitality industry. I think it's commendable. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jan. Talk soon.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.